Muhannad Ayyash. He's a professor of sociology at the Mount Royal University. He joins us now live from Calgary, Canada. Good evening, Muhannad. What's your reaction to how the civilian population in Gaza is suffering at the moment under these intense Israeli airstrikes?
Thank you for having me. It's really indescribable. I can't even fathom the amount of suffering and pain that the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip are experiencing right now. It is hard to wrap your head around it. Over 1,000 children have been killed. Almost 3,000 civilians have been killed. Buildings are destroyed across the Gaza Strip. Hospitals are barely functioning. There's no fuel, there's no water, there's no food. Medical professionals are being targeted. Media is being targeted. People were on a bread line. I read a report today that was bombed, and most of the people standing in line to get bread were killed. There's over approximately 1 million people from some of the reports I'm seeing that have been internally displaced. This is a genocidal operation that the Israeli state is carrying out against the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. There's no other accurate way to describe it other than to call it a genocidal operation.
There have been journalists, medical staff, aid workers who've lost their lives in these attacks. What's your assessment? Is this still within the remit of self-defense, like the U.S. keeps saying, or after Hamas' deadly attack last weekend?
It was never a self-defense operation. We can't start the clock on October 7th. Yes, Hamas did initiate this particular round of violence, but you can't understand violence by looking at violence from a very incidental standpoint. Like, you can't incidentalize it. You have to understand it from its underlying structures. As an underlying structure of the Israeli state is an aggressive one towards the Palestinian. Israel, as a settler colony, is always the aggressor because it expels Palestinians from their land. Even David Ben-Gurion said as much in the 1940s. He argued that, yes, sometimes we are, quote unquote, defending ourselves from a particular attack, but let's not kid ourselves, he said. We are always the political aggressor and they are defending themselves. That has not changed. This is certainly, if anybody wants to use that idea of self-defense, they can't use that now, because this is certainly, this is a genocidal destruction of a people. They're talking openly about expelling Palestinians and reoccupying the Gaza Strip. Biden would not have said he thinks it's a bad idea for Israel to occupy Gaza if he wasn't hearing internally that that is what the Israelis want to do, that they want to take over half of the Gaza Strip and expel Palestinians forever from their homes and lands from the northern parts of the Gaza Strip, like they have done across the land of historic Palestine. So the Israelis have been, and specifically this government too, have been wanting to expand Israeli settlement on Palestinian land, expand the expulsion of Palestinians from their land for quite some time. And they are using this as a pretext to carry out that plan. And that's what is happening right now.
I want to ask you, many experts have been saying that the use of starvation is a war crime under the Geneva Convention. Given that aid such as food and fuel is still not getting in, people having to drink seawater even, is it war crimes that we're witnessing?
Absolutely, it's war crimes at the very least. I mean, scholars of genocide are sending out letters that are signed by hundreds of academics and experts in genocide, saying that this is an act of genocide. It's committing the crime of genocide. So yes, it absolutely is a violation of all morality and all laws, international laws of war, and certainly, I think, are committing an act of genocide at this point. So, the world should be completely outraged, completely insistent on forcing the Israeli state to stop this immediately, and begin a real, honest dialogue and conversation about real solutions here to resolve the underlying dynamics of this conflict, of this issue, which is the expulsion of Palestinians from their land, the denial of the Palestinian aspiration for freedom and sovereignty on their homelands. We need the entire world right now to speak up against this, because what is happening is is unfathomable. I mean, I'm trying to keep it together as best as I can, but it is very difficult for me to watch these images and speak at the same time right now.
Muhannad Ayyash, a professor of sociology at the Mount Royal University, thank you so much for joining us here on TRT World.